Hello, everybody, and welcome to Average Joe Sports post Super Bowl edition. Congratulations to the New England Patriots on winning the Super Bowl this year by a score of 28-24. And one of the more, I considered it epic in the sense of both teams were very, very well matched. But for some people, they thought it was very, very, very disappointed, which would make sense if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan. We could go through all of the stats and talk about that ad nauseum, but we'll just cut to the second half. And actually, you know what, I'll just give you all the totals from the quarterbacks here. So you had Tom Brady, Super Bowl MVP. He had 37 completions on 50 pass attempts for 328 yards. 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. First interception was in the first half. Threw the ball, well, it looked like it was going to be basically into the back of the end zone. When I looked at the replay, nobody else was back there. It looked like he was just trying to throw it away and just didn't throw it high enough to get out of the way. That's the first interception. The second interception came, if I remember correctly, it was in the second half. On a crossing route over to Gronkowski. Just a heads-up play on the defense to get that interception. Unfortunately, it turned out to not matter in the end. Russell Wilson, 12 completions on 21 attempts for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a game-clinching interception. Wow. I mean, again, we'll talk about that play here a little bit later on in this vlog. But, you know, he's a young quarterback. He's going to make young quarterback mistakes. Again, play call, whoever called it, made it what it was. My personal unsung hero of the game was actually Chris Matthews, a practice squad guy who got brought up from the practice squad of the Seahawks in December 9th. So I mean they brought him in. He got his first catch of the season and also scored his first touchdown of his career in the Super Bowl. He actually had 4 receptions for 109 yards and a touchdown, which for a guy who hadn't played a snap with the starters, that's pretty impressive when you think about it. And had the tables been turned and Seattle got the touchdown, he would have been my vote for MVP. So he definitely came out and did what he was supposed to. Ricardo Lockett came in right behind him, 3 receptions, 59 yards, and no touchdowns. You know, we all saw what happened to Ricardo Lockett on that last play. And again, it's a toss-up which way you want to look at it. Marshawn Lynch came in with 24 carries, 102 yards, and 1 touchdown, one rushing touchdown. He also did pretty well on a reception in the second half as well on a nice little pattern, getting behind the defense for being a part of that key drive. So really what it ultimately comes down to is, again, the final play of the game. What can you say? I mean, hindsight being 2020, should Seattle have given Marshawn Lynch the ball to get that half a yard and get into the end zone? Probably. But there was a interesting stat from ESPN and also from NFL.com for Seattle this season on plays resulting on and goal situations, mainly actually goal line situations more particularly, which is part of and goal, but it's just from a shorter distance. The Seahawks were 5 of 12 on plays to Marshawn Lynch for, I believe, negative 3 yards. So when you look at that stat, you look at it that way, it's moderately understandable why you didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. But like everybody said, when you've got one of the best backs in the league and it's second down, give the man the ball. Feed the beast. Who knows? I mean, it's tough to say whether or not he would have gotten over the line because, well, they only tried it once. So, it's a tough pill for the Seahawks to swallow. I mean, you got teammates talking about it, but again, when the press asks you the question, it's your choice on how you choose to answer the question. Marshawn Lynch was asked as he was leaving the stadium what he think. He said it's football's a team game. We played team ball. I think he was obviously upset that he didn't get the ball in that sort of a situation. But again, when it's a low, when actually the run play itself is a low percentage play, well, you got to throw the pass. I don't think the slant was exactly the best option, but that's, again, I'm not the coach. I'm not, but it's the way it is just the way it is. And I know the all you 12s out there are very, very disappointed, but take this as some semblance of a silver lining. And I know when I tell you this, it's not going to, like, you're not going to understand it, and you may not accept it right now, but when you sit back and you think about it for a second, it actually makes sense. This was in fact a successful title defense. The Seahawks successfully defended their championship from last year. Because again, you typically, your Super Bowl champions don't make it back to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl. I mean, come on. The last team to do it was, in fact, the New England Patriots. So I mean, and they got that win, but this season is not a bust. You made it back to the promised land, and you had two teams that were playing their absolute best football. And unfortunately, when you have two teams playing their best, someone's best isn't going to be good enough. And that's it's a situation that if you've played sports, you understand what that phrase means. Meaning the phrase of sometimes your best just isn't good enough. You for all of us who played youth sports, you've gone out there and you played the best what you think was the best game of your lives. You put it all out there. You left it all out on the field, only to wind up on the short end. And those games are the most frustrating of them all, because that you did everything possible to win that game, only to come out on the short end of the stick here. So I mean, it is still a tough pill for the fans to swallow. It's a tough pill for the team to swallow. But understand that the title defense as a whole was a success. Had Seattle won, you would now be defending this title and the previous title. So I mean, it's again, 6-1, half dozen of the other. Again, I know what most of you guys are thinking probably at this point of my vlog, and that is, have a Coke and a smile and shut the bleep up. I get that, and I respect that, but at the same time, looking at the big picture, the Super Bowl title defense was a success. You beat everybody that you were supposed to beat except one in the very final game of the NFL season. It can't really get much better than that. The only way it would have been better is if, well, you won. So on that, key plays that stuck out to me. Let's see here. The Jermaine Kearse bobbled catch right there, trying to get into that final winning drive was in fact amazing. Shane Vereen, I mean, an unsung hero. 11 catches coming out of the backfield. The dink and dunk offense was really working well for Tom Brady, keeping the Legion of Boom and the rest of the defense on their toes. It was something that it's very, very hard for them to defend against, because they're used to playing man and having to worry about the short passes underneath. Or it's just something that after a while becomes a pain in the butt. Tom Brady, despite being uncomfortable, he played a very, very well-rounded game. Yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but even the greats have bad games. So I mean, it's just the way it is. But the number one play that actually sticks out to me, believe it or not, was at the very end of the game, after the interception and after the encroachment, which was a very, very silly play. You knew they were going to try and draw you off sides, defense, and you fell for it. But it was the play after that where all of a sudden a hockey brawl decide to come out. And I know that the Seahawks as a whole started the fight. I get that. But at the same time, it was a very, very classless thing for New England to do, to continue to fight. Because in the grand scheme, all you would have had to do was take the punch on the helmet, put your hands up and go, whoa, point at the scoreboard and say, but guess who's going home with the Lombardi trophy? Me, not you. So, I mean, to me as a whole, I looked at that and said, that in the grand scheme is what coaches don't want to teach the youth playing football today, is having that sort of a bad, unsportsmanlike attitude at the end of the game. It was unnecessary on both teams. Seattle Seahawks defense, you should be ashamed of yourself for letting yourself get that frustrated, and New England, you should be just as disappointed in yourself for playing along in that. So I mean, the placing the blame actually falls on both teams. I know Bruce Irving, he blatantly admitted that he started that, and he's very, very apologetic after the fact. But again, it doesn't change the fact that you did that you did it. Something that my mother would always say is, well, sorry didn't do it, you did. And again, when your parents say something to you like that, you find yourself going, well, what does that even mean? But basically what they're saying is, we appreciate the fact that you are apologizing for it, but it doesn't change the fact that it happened. So I mean, that's something that definitely stuck out to me. And I know that all of the 12s out here are very, very disappointed. I mean, I'm not a full-fledged Seahawk fan. I like to call myself an 11.5, not a full-on 12, but 11.5. I root for the Seahawks more now than I did, God, was it 15 years ago now? It seems when they were last in the AFC West. Then I did then, because obviously same conference, so you have a rivalries within that. So my civic pride behind me, I consider, makes me an 11.5, not a full-on 12. So yeah, there's that. Again, the final score, Madden Simulator picked it out 28-24 in favor of New England. It's a tough thing, to give up, to actually have a 10-point lead and watch that go away in the second half. It's sad, because the Seahawks offense didn't necessarily produce a whole lot on the 3 or 4 possessions prior to that final drive. There was a lot of 3 and outs going on in the second half. The defense as a whole, in my opinion, they actually did their job despite the 28 points. I mean, what are you going to do when one of your corners goes out and you got a new guy coming in on Super Bowl Sunday? Well, Tom Brady's going to do what any veteran quarterback is going to do, and that's throw it to that side. I know people are like, well, Richard Sherman, is the best cornerback in the league, and he is one of the best, but it's easy to kind of do that when no one's throwing it to your side on purpose, because Tom Brady made it a point to not throw to Richard Sherman's side, and it makes sense not to. It's not like Russell Wilson threw it a whole lot to Darrelle Revis' side either. There was the touchdown that who had that touchdown? I'm trying to remember. Give me a second here. I'm getting to it. It was Doug Baldwin had, where he used the end zone referee as a pick. For those people who don't understand that, when a referee actually, in fact, either A, gets used as an extra blocker, it's completely legal because they are, in fact, a part of the field. Just like back in the days when football was played a little bit differently, they put the goalpost on the 1 yard line, and that's where it stood. They would use believe it or not, they would use the goalpost as basically, the defense would use it as an extra defender, or the offense would use it as basically an extra downfield player to run those pick plays. So that's ultimately what happened there, and that's the only time Russell Wilson threw it anywhere in the direction of Darrelle Revis. So that being said, neither one of the best corners in the league got a whole lot of work, which stands to reason why they are the best corners in the league, because no one wants to throw them, and when they do, it turns out to be a mistake more times than not. Just kind of closing. It was, again, tough loss to watch for Seattle. I know there's a lot of disappointed and just absolutely lost Seahawks fans out there. But again, I don't think this is going to be the thing that's going to wreck this team as a whole and having them start at square one. I personally look at this as a chance for Russell Wilson to cement his legacy even more as as a quarterback, because I do believe that with quarterbacks, you have to go through a list of things. And for me, my top 3 things on that list are, well, number 1, winning despite the odds. Russell Wilson did that in the NFC title game against Green Bay. That game, for the most part, was a loss. Again, you turn the ball over that many times, you don't win. 2, there is the being the dominating quarterback that you need to be to just win a game outright. He's had a few of those over the course in the regular season as well as the postseason, but it became a little bit more apparent last year in last year's Super Bowl. Yeah, he didn't throw for a whole lot of yards, but every play that he made counted. And number 3 is being able to stand tall despite a loss. And that's kind of a part A and part B. Part A is actually suffering the soul-crushing loss, which he did this year. Part B is actually the comeback from that. It'll be interesting to see what happens to Russell Wilson going into next season and seasons beyond that. Should the Seahawks make it back to next year's Super Bowl and they go in and run roughshod and he throws for 300 yards and throws for 5 touchdowns, to me, he would complete part B of that to making himself a legendary quarterback. It just in the grand scheme of numbers, and being a part of that elite group of quarterbacks. He's on the cusp of being that. He's just not there yet. He's got a Super Bowl ring, but then again, so does Eli Manning. So I mean, Eli Manning's got 2. So I mean, all in all, it still was a great season for the Seahawks. It really, really was. And it's going to take a while for Seahawks fans to come to terms with that. I think it's going to take you guys a couple of weeks to get over that heartbreaking loss. I know when the Raiders played in their last Super Bowl, all those many years ago before Facebook, sorry, that's my old person voice. I know that it took me a couple weeks to just kind of get over the fact that, not only did we lose the Super Bowl but we lost the Super Bowl to our former coach who got fired by Al Davis. I mean, and I'd said, and that, again, looking back at it, I'd said back then, I was like, firing Gruden was the worst mistake that the Raiders made as an organization. That and, picking Jamarcus Russell in the draft. But, whatever. So, it's going to hurt. Take it from a fan who knows. But you'll come back from it stronger. I mean, you now get to appreciate the fact that, seasons like this don't come very often. They don't. Some organizations only win 1 Super Bowl. Others win 4 Super Bowls in 15 years. Some go 4 times in a row and don't win any Super Bowls. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it just depends. It just depends on how you choose to look at the big picture. So that's I'm gonna leave it at that for today. And go Raiders for next season. Go Hawks. You guys had a great season. And again, congratulations to the New England Patriots.